It was a Saturday morning like any other. Jerry was out in his yard, pulling weeds, trimming hedges, doing the kind of work that makes your back ache and your mind wander. His wife Carla was inside making lunch. Their 17-year-old son Tim was upstairs, probably glued to his phone. Just another quiet weekend in a quiet neighborhood. Then Jerry saw it. Coiled near the base of his old garden shed, half hidden in the tall grass, was a snake. Now, Jerry had seen plenty of snakes over the years. Garter snakes, rat snakes, the occasional black racer. But this thing? This was different. Its scales shimmered in bands of electric blue, deep crimson, and bright gold. It moved slowly, almost deliberately, like it knew it was being watched. Jerry stepped back. His stomach tightened. Something about this creature felt deeply wrong. He pulled out his phone, crouched at what he hoped was a safe distance, and snapped a dozen pictures. Then he went inside, sat down at his computer, and searched every reptile database he could find. Nothing matched. Not one result even came close. That's when he called Bob. Bob was Jerry's oldest friend and a wildlife photographer who had spent 20 years documenting species across 3 states. If anyone could identify this snake, it was him. "Bob, I need you to come over right now." "Jerry, it's Saturday. What's going?" "There's a snake in my yard that doesn't exist." Bob was there in 15 minutes. He walked straight to the shed, crouched down, and started shooting. His fingers moved fast across the camera settings. Zoom in, adjust exposure, reframe. After a full minute of silence, he lowered the camera and looked at Jerry. "I've photographed snakes across 3 states, Jerry. This thing doesn't match anything. Not in my field guides, not in any database I know of." Jerry exhaled. "So I'm not crazy, no? But I think we might be in over our heads. Now, before we go any further, if you're enjoying this story, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss what happens next. Trust me, you're going to want to see where this goes." Jerry called the local ranger station. Within the hour, Ranger Ross pulled up in his green truck, stepped out, adjusted his hat, and walked toward the yard. He looked calm, professional. Routine call, routine day. Then he saw the snake. Ross stopped mid-step. His hand went to his radio, then dropped. He crouched down slowly, pulled out a measuring tape, and began documenting. Length, girth, scale pattern, color distribution. He was quiet for a long time. "Too long, Ross?" Jerry finally said. "What are we looking at?" Ross didn't answer right away. He stood up, pulled out his phone, and made a call. He turned away from the group and spoke in a low, clipped voice. Jerry caught fragments. "Never seen this configuration. Possibly engineered." "Yes, I'm serious." When Ross turned back around, his face had changed. The calm professionalism was gone. In its place was something Jerry had never seen from him before. Fear. "Jerry, I need everyone to step back at least 30 feet. "Right now?" "What? Why?" "What is it?" "This snake didn't wander into your yard, Jerry. Someone put it here." A chill crawled up Jerry's spine. Carla, who had stepped outside when she saw the ranger's truck, immediately pulled Tim behind her. "What do you mean, someone put it here?" she demanded. Ross explained that after consulting with a specialist, he believed the snake could be venomous. And worse, it showed characteristics consistent with animals found in illegal wildlife trafficking. Operations: engineered hybrids. Designer species bred to fetch enormous prices on the black market. The word trafficking hit the small crowd like a thunderclap. By now, a handful of neighbors had drifted over, drawn by the ranger's truck and the cluster of people. Whispers spread fast. Parents pulled their children closer. One man shook his head and muttered, "Not in this neighborhood," but apparently yes, in this neighborhood. Jerry didn't hesitate. He called the police. Within 20 minutes, sirens cut through the afternoon air. Officers fanned out across the area, knocking on doors, asking questions, scanning yards. The quiet Saturday had officially ended. It was during the perimeter search that one officer discovered something unexpected. Behind a wall of overgrown brush at the edge of the neighborhood sat an old barn on a foreclosed property. No one had paid attention to it in years. The previous owner had left town abruptly, and the lot had been swallowed by weeds and neglect. Inside the barn, officers found crates. Dozens of them. Some were smashed open, others were sealed tight and perforated with small air holes. The smell was unmistakable. Animals had been kept here recently. "Jerry," one of the officers said, "do you have security cameras on your property?" He did. Jerry led them inside, and together they scrubbed through hours of footage. At the 2-hour mark, they found it. Time-stamped 3 nights earlier, a plain white van appeared on screen. A shadowy figure climbed out, carried crates toward the back of the property, and disappeared into the tree line leading toward the barn. The whole operation took less than 10 minutes. The footage was immediately sent to a regional task force. That evening, something else surfaced. Tim had been rummaging through the attic, looking for his old camping gear, when he stumbled across a box that didn't belong to the family. Inside were shipping manifests and delivery receipts addressed to the property's previous owner. The documents referenced live cargo and listed pickup points in 3 different states. Tim brought the box downstairs. "Dad, I think you need to see this." Jerry stared at the papers, then looked at his son. "How long has this been up there?" "No idea." It was buried behind the Christmas decorations. Jerry handed everything over to the investigators that same night. The documents proved to be a critical piece of the puzzle. The next morning, a team of biologists arrived from the state university, called in by the task force. Bob, who had stuck around since that first afternoon, worked alongside them, sharing his photographs and field notes. His detailed close-ups of the snake's scale patterns turned out to be invaluable for the analysis. The biologists set up portable equipment in Jerry's garage. They collected tissue samples, ran preliminary DNA tests, and observed the snake's behavior under controlled conditions. After 48 hours of analysis, the lead biologist, Dr. Patel, called Jerry and his family together. "This snake is not a natural species," she said flatly. "It's a hybrid. Someone spliced genetic material from at least 3 different species, including 2 venomous ones. It was engineered deliberately, almost certainly to increase its rarity and market value." Jerry sat in silence. Carla squeezed his hand. Tim leaned forward, wide-eyed. "You're telling me someone built this thing?" Jerry asked. "That's exactly what I'm telling you." The investigation accelerated from there, using the shipping manifests, the security footage, and the DNA findings. Authorities mapped out a smuggling network that stretched across state lines. What had seemed like a strange snake in a quiet yard was actually one loose thread in an operation that had been running for years. 10 days after Jerry's discovery, a coordinated raid hit 6 locations simultaneously. Officers moved at dawn. They found cages, crates, falsified documents, and over 40 exotic animals in various states of captivity. Several high-profile arrests followed, including a former exotic animal dealer and 2 people with prior trafficking convictions. The news coverage was relentless. Jerry Street was on every local channel for a week. Reporters camped out near the curb. Neighbors who had once whispered theories now gave interviews describing the shock of learning what had been happening right under their noses. Authorities formally recognized Jerry and his family for their role in cracking the case. Ranger Ross shook Jerry's hand and said something that stuck with him. "Most people would have just ignored that snake. You didn't." Bob's photographs were later published in a university research paper documenting the hybrid species. He joked with Jerry that it was the best assignment he never asked for. Weeks passed. The reporters left. The barn was torn down. The street returned to its familiar rhythm. Kids rode bikes again. Neighbors waved from their driveways. Life went on, but something had shifted. One evening, Jerry was back in his yard, pulling weeds near the same shed where everything had started. Tim came outside and sat on the porch steps. "Dad, do you ever think about what would have happened if you hadn't noticed that snake?" Jerry paused, wiped the sweat from his forehead, and looked at his son. "Every single day, kid." Every single day, he went back to his weeds. The yard was quiet, the sun was setting, and for the first time in weeks, that was enough.